Podmoth.
What time is it? Let me check my watch. Oh, it's bone o'clock. In olden days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. Bring anything bones. Two goofy gals with deathly interest go on a skeleton inquest in your headphones. Anything bones.
Hello and welcome to Anything Bones. I'm Sophie Schwartz.
I'm Katelyn Hart, and you're listening to a podcast like no other podcast out there.
We are bringing you premium bones and bone-related topics.
Yeah, so I know you're about to just shit your pants, but just get it together and listen.
Okay. I was about to shit my pants, but you saved me. I'm getting it together so that I can listen.
Yeah.
As a lot of you have seen, a lot of our boneheads have received their shirts, and on our Instagram we've been posting wonderful pictures of the shirts, and my dad told me this morning to remind everyone that you can still buy one.
Thanks, Sophie's dad. That's a good idea to remind everyone. Yeah, there's a link in our bio on Instagram where you can snag some sweet, sweet t-shirts. I think folks have until October 27th this time. But apparently it's available all the time because it just starts a whole new campaign if somebody buys one randomly.
Yeah, I honestly thought that the first run would kind of just be it for a while, and then someone bought a t-shirt and it was like, hey, we're selling your t-shirts again. And we're like, oh, are you?
This is news to us. Thank you. So, yeah.
But I love it.
If you missed out on round one, there's a round two happening now. Our podcast is turning 1 year old. By the time this recording comes out, it will have happened. And it's pretty cool. We started releasing episodes a whole fucking year ago.
Yeah, and I feel like so much has changed. We have learned so much about bones in the 50 episodes that we have put out.
Yeah.
And gotten to know some really cool people through it as well.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So everybody that's listening, if you're, a bonehead from the original 1 year ago or you're just listening, welcome. And thank you for being here, because this is really cool and this is a dream come true for us.
Yeah, we super appreciate it.
And want you to have just the most amazing October that you can. We're struggling over here. It's a dreary day in Seattle, but we're hanging in and we're making it to Halloween.
Yeah, I spent some time this morning, because it was so dreary outside, I was like, I need to cheer myself up. And so I was looking through my clothes on the Friday before Halloween. We're supposed to wear Halloween costumes to work, and I'm trying to find something appropriate to wear, and I think I'm going to be a spiritualist.
Nice.
I found like a kind of old-timey shirt from work that has big puffy sleeves. So I was trying that on this morning and trying to get my Halloween vibes going.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know what. I think I'll have to figure something out. I'm not the type of person that really plans Halloween. If it happens, it happens, costume-wise.
Yeah. I mean, but you're potentially going trick-or-treating with some honest-to-God children, so
yeah,
you
might be
have
taking.
to.
I might
put on a
actually
costume.
have to try. So yikes! I just realized that. But no, I can be like one of the. I'll be like a grumpy dad or something.
You should dress as a grumpy dad.
It'd be
Oh
so
my
easy.
God! Just go raid your own dad's clothing.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm taking these khakis.
Yeah, I can go as my dad taking me trick or treating. That's too meta. No one would get it, but
I would enjoy it.
I think there's some potential there. Anyway, boneheads, if you're dressing up for Halloween, let us know what you're going to do.
What are you going to be? Is it going to be bone themed? I hope so.
Yeah, anybody going to be a skeleton?
Yeah. I'm always a skeleton, but
Oh, yeah, me too.
Covered in meat. Well, I'm looking at the clock, and it is saying that it is bone o'clock, and if we don't get going soon, Steven is going to bust through the wall, Kool-Aid Man style, and hit me over the head with a femur. So I think I better get a-going.
Yeah.
Because I'm starting the party this week. So when I think Halloween, I think ghouls, goblins, witches.
Of course.
Of course, right? Those are the big three. We talked about Dracula's last week, so we're not going to touch them this week.
Good.
You afraid of Dracula's, Katoon?
I'm afraid of retribution, yeah.
I'm afraid of the revenge of others.
You know, he's still out there probably, is what I learned from last week's episode.
Exactly. So everyone get your hackles up. So, witches. We're going to be talking about a witch for this week. And this was a witch that I hadn't heard of. So when I came across her, I was pretty pleased. But you'll find that she is less into casting spells and more into fraud and poisoning.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about Mary Bateman, who is the murderous Witch of Yorkshire.
Oh my god. Was this in let me guess, the 1700s?
Bitch, you are so close. Yeah, late 1700s, early 1800s.
Yes! Fuck yeah.
You are on the money.
Thank you.
All right, we got some sources. Mental Floss, a blogspot article, ydruck.blogspot.com, onmagazine.co.uk, Medium, mylearning.org, and Wikipedia.
My Learning.
Okay, mylearning.org is actually a resource for teachers. I found this out. So I was looking through an article about this lady, but it was also about policing in Leeds at the time and policing in general. And they had some fun, they had what they called fascinating facts at the bottom of the page, and some of those fascinating facts were fun stuff like knocking or ringing a bell wantonly was a fine of 40 shillings in
Jesus.
Leeds at the time. I know. Well, there's a bunch of other stuff you could get fined 40 shillings for. Flower pots in upper windows not sufficiently guarded, that's 40 shillings.
Guarded? What?
Yeah, I don't know.
So if I think I can push that flower pot off the ledge too easily, that's 40 shillings right there.
Yeah, it is. Which is funny because that's the same fine as firearms discharging in the street.
Okay.
So if your flower pots are unwieldy or if you have attempted to shoot someone, it's 40 shillings.
Damn. Everybody should really just have 40 shillings at the ready at all times.
Yeah, but the thing that made me crack up in a fun kind of macabre way was that this then devolved into just facts about crime and punishment. And numbers 6 and 7 of fascinating facts about crime and punishment is the last execution at Armsley was in 1961. The death penalty was abolished in the UK in 1965. Fact number 7. Some crimes still carry the death penalty in some other countries, including some parts of America.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of
That's
behind
us.
the
We're kind of
times.
still brutal. Yeah, we're still brutal motherfuckers. But on to this lady. So she was born Mary Harker, which is her unmarried name. She was born in North Riding of Yorkshire in 1768. She learned to read and write from a young age, and when she was 13, she started working as a servant girl. Now, she grew up in a rather comfortable environment. She wasn't living in poverty, but she still ended up developing a deep love and passion for stealing.
Yeah, same.
So she would often steal from her employers, which would, of course, eventually cost her her job. And this also led to her having a reputation of being a thief, so it was hard for her to find honest work kind of anywhere. When she was 20, she moved to York, and she worked as a dressmaker, but then she actually had to get out of there a couple years after because she was involved in a burglary.
Oh, yeah.
In Leeds, she was able to find some work as a seamstress, and she had a side hustle as a witch.
Yeah.
Of course, like us all.
Spooky.
She told fortunes, she brewed love potions, and one of her specialities was that she removed, quote, evil wishes from people. So if someone put an evil wish on you, she could take care of that for you.
Okay, so she'll take care of a wish, but a curse, she's like, no, I won't touch a curse.
I mean, I think that's essentially what it is. Like, I think that's just the phrasing is like, someone has put an evil wish on you. I wish that your life would suck.
Okay,
you know?
Yeah, it's not quite as official as like a spell or a curse or something.
Yeah, because witchcraft was very touch and go in this time. You could go and like buy a spell from someone, but like if you were like outwardly doing witchcraft, you know, we're gonna see later, you know, people don't like that still.
Sure.
They don't like witchcraft openly and outwardly, but people have always been superstitious. So like she feeds on that specifically. She's doing her thing, and in 1792, she ends up marrying a wheelwright, which I looked up is a guy who makes or repairs wooden wheels.
That is an essential job, so good on ya.
Yeah, and this guy, his name was John Bateman, and he was a good, kind of honest dude. Everyone knew that about him, but unfortunately, Mary she couldn't stop it with the stealing.
No. She's like, he's got his wheel thing, and I've got my thievery.
I've got my burglaries. So they were constantly moving around to escape the consequences of her crimes, let's say. Always kind of on the lam.
And he was okay with this, you think? He was just like, oh, that's my wife.
I guess. Like, in one article that I read, like, this was concerning the witchcraft, is that he didn't know or he didn't care. And, I mean, more concerning is the thievery, which he seemed not to be too, like, pissed about, because he's moving with her. He's going too.
Yeah, there's only so many times you can be like, oh, I need to move for an emergency. It's like, okay, there's something going on.
And you're going to tell your husband, I would hope.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be like, where'd you get all this shit from?
Yeah.
So around this time, at the beginning of the 1800s-ish, she begins to come up with this con where she's telling people that she's the middle woman for, like, a fake medium named Miss Moore. And according to Mary, Miss Moore was really special because she was the 7th child of 7 children, and she was capable of, quote, screwing down or like supernaturally binding, you know, those of her clients from harm. So she's made up this woman who is the 7th children of 7 children, and that gives her the power to protect people from harm, basically.
Sure. Whatever.
It makes sense, I guess. And Mary also pretended to work for, or she also made up another medium named Mrs. Blythe, who was kind of painted as more of a low-level kind of psychic who could read the stars. And, you know, of course, no such woman existed.
Yeah. So she's just like, hold on, I gotta go talk to Miss Blythe in the other room. And then she would leave and come back and be like, okay, here's what she said. Like,
I mean, you laugh, but her business was super successful.
Wow.
Like, people were, like, lining up at her house to, like, get their fortunes told by Blythe, and Mary would, like, take their names and their money,
of course,
and go to Miss Blythe and be like, hey, this person. I imagine, just like you're talking about Katelyn, she goes in the other room and she's there standing by herself. She's like, Miss Blythe, you know, this lady wants to know if this man's gonna marry her. And she jumps over to the other side of the room. She's like, oh, that seems old. Let me look at my crystal ball. And she would, you know, go back to the people and she would give them their fortunes and also sell them any kind of accoutrement that Miss Blythe would think that they needed.
Yes.
You know, charms, herbs, you know, stuff like that. You always need the add-ons.
This is an essential thing in the beauty industry, is the at-home care. That is like 90% of your money. It's like getting people to buy the at-home stuff.
And that's exactly it. You are right on the money, because she would sell people magic potions, charms, things to ward off evil, repelling curses that would, cure your illnesses. So she's like really doing the snake oil thing.
Oh yeah, she's into it.
She also served as a part-time abortionist.
Okay, there it is. I am fine with it, but I can only imagine how unsafe those abortions were for the people getting them.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I can't give her anything for this. Like, I'm so in support of abortions, but not done by some fake-ass witch. So, although her business was booming with the charms and the spells, she soon is going to turn to murder because, like, we heard about last week with Belle Gunness, fraud sometimes leads to murder.
Yeah, they get a little taste of murder when they commit their fraud.
Mary's first victims were actually 3 people from the same family.
Ooh.
3 women from the Kitchen family.
Oh.
Yeah, and this was in 1803. So Mary basically starts like making friendships with them, and sometimes she would help out in their drapery shop in Leeds, and she also told their fortunes via Miss Blythe. And eventually one of the women gets kind of sick. We don't really know what she had, but Mary says that she's going to help her out. She's going to cure her with some special powders that she prepared. Soon, all 3 women are dead.
Yep, that was some good medicine.
Yeah, and Mary's like, I don't know. It's the plague.
Shit.
It's plague.
The plague is back.
And, so there were creditors who were looking into the Kitchen estate because, they had to get all their stuff sorted out after 3 of the members of the family died. And they saw that, the house, the drapery company, and all of their assets had been stripped and their account books missing. So, and no one suspected Mary. She was not even on the list. This is my favorite one of her scams coming up now. In 1806, Mary's like, I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna try something new. Gotta shake it up.
I've done my fraud. I've done my murder. Now I need to do something else.
So she starts spreading rumors of the Prophet Hen of Leeds.
Okay.
She is claiming that she has a chicken.
Stop.
That laid an egg inscribed with the words, Christ is coming. Christ is coming. She spelled it wrong.
Okay. So she thinks she has a spiritual chicken that, tells the future?
That says that Christ is coming.
Right. But
her chicken is telling people that the second coming of Christ is nigh.
Oh my god, but it's spelled wrong.
Yes.
Okay. I like that.
And she starts charging people to get, basically a blessing from the chicken.
Oh my god, and people were lining up, I bet. People loved this shit.
They absolutely were.
Yes.
They were batshit for the fucking chicken.
What else is there to do?
Nothing. And, of course, she had, inscribed this egg herself using vinegar, which can etch an egg. And so she basically took the egg, etched it, stuck it back up the chicken.
Oh my god. I just tensed up.
I know, it's terrible. So that people could see it pooping out the egg. And a local doctor saw her doing this. He saw her doing this and he told people, and she wasn't punished or anything. No recourse for the religiously fortuitous chicken.
Okay. So nobody... she still has, people who believe her at this point? They're not like, this is old Mary, she's full of shit?
No. People believe her even more now. And the best part about it is, so she wasn't punished at all, right? And people are still totally behind her. And this is all kind of chump change in compared to her last scheme. The one that really gets her in trouble.
Okay.
Which is that in the spring of 1806, the same year as Chicken Prophet, she catches a whale in the form of this couple by the names of William and Rebecca Pergio. And Rebecca suffered from like a nervous disorder is what they called it. She had anxiety and she had like fluttering pain in her side. And she had been told by someone else that this was because of evil wishes. Mm-hmm. Like we had talked about earlier, it's the evil wishes. Mm-hmm. And so Rebecca hears about Mary Bateman and she goes to Mary for help from Miss Blythe, you know, the chain. And so Mary is like, yes, Miss Blythe can totally help you. She says that you need to sew bags containing guinea notes, which is currency, money. Basically, you have to sew money bags into the, like, posters of your bed where they should stay for 18 months undisturbed. And so as Miss Blythe continues to work on Rebecca's illness, she's demanding money for magical supplies, as well as china, silver, a new bed for herself. And here are some other things she demanded. 1 goose, 2 pairs of men's shoes, a tea caddy, several shirts, a counterplane, a silk handkerchief, a silk shawl, a light-colored gown skirt, 2 pillows, a new waistcoat, 60 pounds of butter.
Oh my god, 60.
60 pounds of butter, 200 or 300 eggs, a new pair of shoes, and a piece of beef. And that is an edited list.
So she's just trying to defraud people so she can get, I don't know, some clothes and some supplies.
Basically, she told them, I need all of this. Miss Blythe needs all of this for her supernatural doing.
Oh my god.
And she would also demand straight up cash every time she went as well. And she would tell them to burn the little instructions that she would give them from Miss Blythe so that evil spirits couldn't read it, i.e. other people, and be like, this is bullshit.
Of course. Bullshit thrives in the dark.
Exactly. So after working with this couple for a little while and like paying her a lot of money, she gives them a letter like from Miss Blythe that she says is super important. And it's portents of like a big illness that's going to strike either one or both of them. Quote, "Dear friends, I am sorry to tell you, you will take an illness in the month of May next, either to one or both. But I think both. But the work of God must have its course."
Yikes.
Right?
They're like, thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, but of course this is all a setup because Miss Blythe can help. She can help, you guys.
Of course. She can help you with this problem that I created.
Yeah, because we're back at it with the special powder.
Of course.
Mary has this special powder from Miss Blythe that they were to sprinkle into puddings, which I think just generally means dessert. I don't know if she's really talking pudding specifically, which they should eat alongside a pot of special honey. And part of these instructions was that no one else was supposed to eat this magical food, just the 2 of them. And they weren't to summon a doctor either, because that could make the supernatural illness even worse.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So Mary had laced the food with poison, of course. This special powder, it's poison. And they both become ill. And there's a great quote from William about what this sickness felt like. Quote, "A violent heat came out of his mouth, which was very sore. His lips were black, and they had a most violent pain in his head 20 times worse than a common headache. In addition to that, quote, violent complaints in his bowels."
Oh, William.
He be poopin'. So, on May 24th, 1807, Rebecca Pergio dies. But William does not.
Okay.
He is still alive. And he continues to pay Miss Blythe for the next 2 years.
Fuck.
To keep treating him. And so after a while, he's like, okay, why isn't this working? I've been paying this woman 4 years to cure me. My wife died. So he goes and he cuts open the bags that are still on the bed. And inside is supposed to be money, right? It isn't. It's just a bunch of newspapers and trash.
Oh, yeah. She got in there. She got her grubby little hands on the money.
Of course. I doubt she even put the money in there in the first fucking place.
Wow.
And so he confronts her about it, and she's like, hey, you opened the bags too early. And he was like, this is the most boss thing ever. He looks at her, he says, I think it is too late.
Oh, yeah. He said the perfect thing.
Yeah, I did. And he comes back the next day with a constable and is like confronting her again. And she turns the tables on him and she's like, actually, no, I think you were the one who poisoned your wife, not me. And the constable pops out of the bushes and is like, nice try, bitch. You're arrested. And of course, they go into her house and they search her house and they find all these items and, you know, pieces of payment that the couple had given her over the years that's supposed to be for Mrs. Blythe.
She's toast.
Oh, she's super toast. So she goes to trial, of course, March 17th, 1809, and she denies everything, of course. She says, quote, it is utterly false that I ever sent for any poison by any person. Okay. So, of course, during the trial, the truth of her fraud comes out, and it's really obvious that there's no Miss Blythe or Miss Moore, and in fact, Mary's handwriting matched Miss Blythe's perfectly.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
In addition to this, a doctor who analyzed the remains of that special honey that she gave them found that it had mercury in it.
Perfect way to kill someone. And honey is sweet, so it probably masks the taste of whatever nasty thing she's putting in there.
Of course. And like in addition to that, remember our friend Special Powder? Mm-hmm. That was a mix of oatmeal and arsenic.
Why the oatmeal?
I don't know. Hide the arsenic.
You're trying to kill... Well, put yourself in her shoes. If you're trying to kill someone, why the oatmeal?
Know. I mean, it's just wild.
Yeah, this whole thing is bonkers.
Yeah, and it will continue to be. She continues, of course, to say that she's innocent, but while she's in jail, she's making and selling charms to other inmates. So she is, of course, found guilty and sentenced to be hanged. And she's going to be hanged on March 20th, 1809. And thousands of people came to see her get hanged because the story of the Yorkshire witch had spread around.
Sure.
And so after she was hanged, her body was taken to the General Infirmary at Leeds, where it was put on display, where you could pay to go see it for 3 pence a visitor. And about 2,000 people came to see her dead body. And that's where there were jugglers and clowns.
So you pay your 3 pence, you see your dead body, you also see a juggler and a clown. And you don't wonder what's wrong with this picture.
I mean, I'm just saying it's a full day of family entertainment.
What the fuck was going on back then? Like, this is so crazy.
Oh, hold on. Bitch, you gotta hold on. 'Cause afterwards, she was dissected over 3 days.
On display?
Yeah, for money. And strips of her skin were tanned into leather and sold as magic charms to ward off evil spirits. And I'm sending you right now a picture of a little, they call it a cup, but it looks more like a bag that is made out of her skin. There were also several books that were bound in her skin, and some of them even made it into the possession of George IV, who was a king.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm glad we don't have a better picture of this purse, because I'm sure it's just horrifying.
It's a skin purse, I
don't need to see it. I think it's like a clutch.
Skin clutch.
Skin clutch. It's like one of those purses that would clasp at the top, but you can kind of see the crinkles of the skin. It's so gross.
It is really is gross. It's terrible. And kind of the last piece I have for you is, where's she buried?
Oh, where?
Trick question. She isn't.
Uh-oh.
Her skeleton was on display for over 2 centuries, first at Leeds Medical School and then at Thackeray Medical Museum. and now it is in storage at the Leeds University. And I'm going to send you a picture of her skeleton right now.
Oh my God.
It's an incomplete skeleton because after the dissection, after all those people coming to see her, after like all the investigations, so many parts of her body, like she doesn't have her mandible, we don't know where that went, have been just taken. But I would like to think that the soul of the Yorkshire witch haunts the Leeds University storage trying to con people.
I think so. I mean, that's you've got to have a weird energy when your skin gets turned into a purse and talismans and stuff. That
right?
That has to really fuck up your afterlife.
I would think so. Anthropodermic books, which are books that are bound in human skin, are a thing that I think is very fascinating, super gross, and it's something I've been pushing you to do a story on for a while because skin.
Yeah, I know. I think that concept is just so disgusting. I know it's out there, but I like to forget.
Yeah, well.
And you won't let me.
I won't let you forget. Me, Mary Bateman, we're just women out here making trouble.
Oh my God. Making coin purses.
Oh God. Well, speaking of coin purses, I think it's time for an ad.
Yay!
Welcome to The Ugly Radio on the Podmoth Network, a lo-fi sci-fi audio theater anthology series made for late nights and strong drinks. Join us monthly as we broadcast a pirate signal across time and space, featuring stories, songs, and frequencies from a rotating list of voice actors, writers, storytellers, and musicians. If you're looking for high-quality science fiction, skin-crawling horror, and other genre fiction, listen to The Ugly Radio on the Podmoth Network, now available wherever you get your podcasts. The Ugly Radio. See you in the void.
And we're back. How was that ad break? Are you going to go listen to that podcast?
I am.
Yeah, not yet, because I have a story to tell, but then you can go listen to that later. So.
Okay, I'm turning it off now.
Yeah. I decided for one of our, we're getting close to Halloween, right? So I was thinking about doing some kind of creepy cemetery, and I was just Googling like scariest cemeteries in America, and then nothing was really coming to me. I mean, there were plenty of options. There's a lot of haunted shit. But then I was like, let's go a little further out. So most haunted cemetery in the world. And
of course,
the one that popped up that piqued my interest is a cemetery called Greyfriar Kirkyard, and this is a cemetery that is in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Ooh, yeah. They do things right over there. In
They're
the spooky,
cool.
in
They're
the spooky
very
realm.
Cool. So my sources for this were the Daily Beast, greyfriarskirk.com, of course, the website for the place. A travel blog, 2 travel blogs actually, one called Eat, Drink, Travel, and one called thirdeyetraveler.com, and then also covenanter.org.uk. So first, a little bit of history. So if we're gonna talk about the most haunted cemetery in the world, we got to know like what happened there historically.
Yeah, lay it out for us, please.
Please. Okay, Greyfriars is on the site of a pre-Scottish Reformation Franciscan monastery, and named it Greyfriars because of the color of the robes that the friars wore. So like Greyfriars. That was the best they could come up with, apparently.
I was gonna say, that really sounds like the placeholder name, where they were like, go, just call it Greyfriars for now.
Yeah.
And then
it just stuck.
They never decided yet.
They never changed it. So after the Scottish Reformation in 1560, the grounds of Greyfriars passed into the possession of Mary, Queen of Scots. And she granted it to the town council, and they were like, yeah, go ahead and use that as a burial ground. And it was eventually going to be bordered by the famous Flodden Wall. And I was like, okay, I've never heard of this famous wall. What's that? So I went over to Atlas Obscura. Quote, the Flodden Wall was completed in 1560 to protect the city against an English invasion that never came.
Well, you'd rather be safe than sorry,
Exactly,
right?
Yeah. Obviously, there was more to it than that, but I guess that's all I wanted to say about that wall.
I love it. So much context.
Yeah. So basically, this is a time in Scotland and like Britain in general where there's just a lot of religious turmoil, people fighting over who's in charge, blah, blah, blah. Basically, at the end of the 16th century, we need a new church because we're growing, we're expanding. So the work on like the true Greyfriars that we see some of today began in 1602, and it was the first post-Reformation church that was actually built in Edinburgh. And it took a long-ass time. It didn't open until 1620, so it took about 18 years to build this sucker.
It took an adulting of a child to build this sucker.
Yeah. The church was able to vote by the time it was opened. So, very important, in 1638, in Greyfriars, the National Covenant was presented and signed at the pulpit. And this is a really important document in the history of Scotland. Basically, it revolved around this idea that monarchs who were ruling by, quote, divine right weren't necessarily God's will. You know what I mean? For so long, Scotland was being ruled by the monarchy, who was just like, hey, we're in charge because God wants it that way. And everybody else, not everybody, but these people that were writing and signing the National Covenant were like, no, I think that just because you are the king doesn't mean that you have this divine right over everybody. So, quote, the covenant was the resulting declaration of rights, the right of ordinary people to exercise their God-given conscience in matters of faith and life. So this didn't go over very well.
Oh, no.
So there is a place connected to Greyfriars Kirkyard, which is called the Covenanters Prison. And I don't know if I'm saying that right. Covenanters is really, sounds wrong, but that's how it's spelled, I think.
It's an embarrassment of consonants in that word.
Yeah, there's a lot of N's. So this Covenanters Prison, obviously not a lot of good happened there. About 1,200 unfortunate members of this party that had, didn't believe in divine right by the monarchy, they were rounded up and just put into this yard outside in the winter. And they were just given a piece of bread every day. And some townspeople were trying to help them a little bit. They would try to pass them food. In some sources that I read, this is kind of considered to be one of the first concentration camps. I mean, documented, you know what I mean?
I mean, it sounds horrific, like a concentration camp.
Yeah.
So
basically, things were so bad that an estimated 257 prisoners came out alive. Everybody else just kind of died from the elements, or they were tortured or killed. We're going to get into that again a little bit later, but we're still in the late 1600s. So then, like I said, this is always a time of great change and upheaval, especially religiously. So the church is always building and growing. At one point, they had put this tower up next to the church, and they kept all their gunpowder there. And unfortunately, that blew up in 1718, and they had to fix Greyfriars because shit got messed up. This happened again in 1845.
Again?
1845, not exactly the same thing. There was a big fire, and it destroyed old Greyfriars and new Greyfriars, because like I said, they're just always in a constant state of building at Greyfriars.
Yeah, they cannot keep this place upright.
Yeah,
Jesus.
No, it's just a little bit of a hodgepodge. Apparently, even today, there are some parts of the church where you can see traces of that original fire damage. But anyway, so they're fixing it up after this fire in 1845. And they are doing some kind of cool things there. Revolutionary for like Scottish churches of the time. And it's all run by Reverend Robert Lee. Not Robert Lee from the Civil War.
Yeah,
we don't like
Robert
him.
E. Lee.
Yeah. He was the minister at the time of the fire, and he was like, okay, we've had this terrible tragedy, this fire, but we're actually going to use this time to kind of reform the way we worship and the way the church is operated. So he brought in these like beautiful stained glass windows. He brought in a pipe organ. And he invited people to like stand and sing and kneel, whatever. Like he just kind of changed. It was very solemn. And then he wanted it to be a little bit more inclusive and like more upbeat, I guess, in the 1800s.
Yeah, wow, that's, yeah.
So
the 1800s were very solemn, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's said that if this guy, this Reverend Lee, had not suffered a stroke and been injured when he fell off a horse in 1867, he probably would have been put on trial as an innovator, which is like,
Of course.
Yeah, everybody's like,
of course.
Fuck this guy for his stained glass windows and his ideas.
Luckily, he fell off a horse and died, or else he would have been put on trial.
Yeah, I guess. He did die the following year, but his kind of that spirit of like change and like, I don't know, kind of being ahead of the curve almost has kind of persisted into modern times with this church. Another thing that happened in the kind of timeline, there was some overcrowding at a nearby graveyard, St. Giles Church Graveyard, and apparently, quote, several tons of human bones were exhumed from their resting places in 1879, and they were put in Greyfriars. They just were like, oh, there's too many bones here. Let's just scoop them up and put them in the ground at Greyfriars and see how it goes.
Oh, and how did it go?
Well, I think it was fine. This is just an interesting fact to me. Like, it just is going to building on the haunted aspects of this fucking place.
Yeah, we're just cramming more souls into this area.
Exactly. But now, currently, this place is still like an operational church. There's a enormous organ. It's called a Peter Collins organ for all of you musicians out there. I'm only bringing this up because it has nearly 3,400 pipes in it, and I just thought that was crazy.
That is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge organ.
Yeah. Fucking huge. And they don't really have pews in there anymore. The space is a little bit more flexible. It seems like more of like a community center and a church and all these other things wrapped into one. I just like this quote, just as the Church of Scotland understands itself to be both reformed and reforming, so that idea is reflected in our building, which continues to be adapted to meet the needs and opportunities of our time. Our aim is to be a welcoming, inclusive community and to respond to local needs in a variety of ways, particularly through our work with the Grassmarket Community Project and the Greyfriars Charterist Center, whatever that is. The Kirk is also an important venue for the arts, a beautiful space for social events, and a popular visitor destination.
I mean, that's amazing. It sounds like it's, part of their integral philosophy is supporting their community.
Yeah, which is really cool. Beautiful. But it doesn't mean it's not haunted as shit. But we're going to get to that.
Oh my god. That got me.
We're going to get to that. That's my kind of last final bulletin. Now that you've got a little bit of the history of this place, I'm going to set the scene for you a little bit. So this Greyfriars Kirkland is in the middle of the city. It's on a hill overlooking the quote-unquote new town that was built in the 1700s, but it is super busy all the time because people are constantly coming in there and wanting to look at all this stuff. It has a little bit of a connection to Harry Potter, which I love. It is not that far away from the famous Elephant House Cafe where J.K. Rowling, we don't love her, but where she first wrote Harry Potter. And the graveyard in the Kirk has names of Harry Potter characters in it. So there's Tom Riddle is in the fucking graveyard and people will come and leave flowers on his grave. And there's also
Wow.
names on two.
So there was a real dude named Tom Riddle. She just cribbed that name from a tombstone.
There's also, well,
That's amazing.
It's not for sure, but I mean, come on, it's pretty close to this place where she wrote the book.
It's a very specific name.
Some other tombs say Potter, McGonagall, Moody, Black, like Sirius Black, blah, blah, blah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you can actually, on the website for the church, which I will link to in the show notes, you can take a tour, like a virtual tour of this place and just like click, 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 walk through the yard. It is so fucking cool. It's like this beautiful open air cemetery, park, community. I don't know. It's just like, I am so upset that when I was in Edinburgh for like 4 days that I didn't go to this place, because I did go to the Elephant House Cafe and I'm like kicking myself that I didn't fucking turn around and see Greyfriars Kirkyard.
Yeah, you could have just done a 180 and seen something much cooler.
So much cooler. Well, I guess I have to go back.
Oh no.
Sorry. Yeah, so it's just this beautiful, but it's like tranquil, but it's really creepy. There's, a lot of graves on walls and all kinds of angels of death and, quote, ghoulish figures on the tombstones. There's also some mort safes in this place, dating back to, of course, the 18th century beyond, where grave robbing was a pretty big issue. But now that we kind of have the idea of the cemetery in our minds, and I'm going to honestly, if you're struggling to picture this, just go to the website and walk around this cemetery, because you can online. I wrote, "Why so haunted? What could be weird about this place?"
I don't know. They tossed a bunch of bones there. They had a yard full of tortured people there. It seems pretty non-spookal to me.
I'm so glad you mentioned the yard full of people. So, we're going back to that time. So, we're in 1677, and Sir George Mackenzie becomes the Lord Advocate in the court of Charles II, and it's his job to punish those that are opposed to the Church of England. So, right now, that's the Covenanters. So, he picks them up, and he puts them in... And he puts him in the yard.
He picks him up and plots him down. Yeah. He has a giant crane in the sky.
He might as well have it's not funny. He just left thousands of people in the winter in Scotland to die. They were also being abused by guards. It's thought that they're probably buried in a mass grave somewhere on the property, but they've never been found. Anyway, so long story short, this guy, George Mackenzie, asshole, some estimates of his, death toll are, 18,000. We just don't know. So his nickname is Bloody Mackenzie, and while he was in charge of this, his reign of terror was called the Killing Time. So, great.
Oh, that's amazing. We love it. The Killing Time?
We love the Killing Time. Thank you, George. So, this asshole is buried at the cemetery, steps away from where the mass grave probably is, and where all these people that he locked up died.
That's so fucked. That's like when they bury, if a husband and wife, and the husband kills the wife, and then they still bury them together.
I hate that so much.
That.
It's disgusting. It's just really, this was the only place you could bury him, was where I don't know. Anyway, nothing really happens from the time that he is buried there in 1691 until about 1998 or 1999. At this point, a homeless person trying to seek shelter breaks into the mausoleum, and the floor collapses beneath him, and he falls into a pit full of bones of plague victims.
Oh my God. Can you imagine you're just a random, person in need of shelter, and you break into a mausoleum, which is, dead people like to share, okay? And you fall into a pit of bones?
Yeah, a pit of bones.
I would never stop screaming.
Yeah, you've heard of the pit of despair? I think this one is 10 times worse.
Yeah, this is the pit of de bones.
Okay. I don't know how we're going to come back from that.
Now.
Jesus Christ.
And that's the end of the podcast. That's a series wrap on Anything Bones. Thanks for your time.
No, I'm not done. All right, so in this experience, in breaking the floor of the mausoleum, it is said that this guy also unearthed George Mackenzie's ghost. And this is something that was actually predicted by a famous Scottish poet. His name was Robert Louis Stevenson. And he...
Hey!
Do you know him?
Not personally, but I know of him.
Oh, great. So apparently he wrote in 1879, quote, "When a man's soul is certainly in hell, his body will scarce lie quiet in a tomb, however costly. Some time or other the door must open, and the reprobate come forth in the abhorred garments of the grave."
Shit.
Yeah.
That's one of the creepier things I've ever heard.
I know. So it was like predicted that a guy this evil is going to have some issues even in the afterlife. So people who visit the tomb or visit outside of the tomb, they come away sometimes with bruises around their necks, scratches, sometimes even broken bones. People faint. A lot of people get a cold shiver or a tingling up their spine. And I wrote, yeah, duh.
Excuse me. There is so much discrepancy here. How does he break your bone for some people and tingle others?
I don't know. It's unclear. But apparently, a newspaper called The Scotsman in 2006 wrote that there had been 450 documented attacks. 140 of those were people that had collapsed. And there is even suspicion that the Mackenzie ghost was responsible for the death of a local psychic.
Whoa.
So this was in 2000, a psychic or spiritualist, whatever you want to call him. His name was Colin Grant. He went to this mausoleum. They sometimes call it the Black Mausoleum, but it's Mackenzie's mausoleum. He wanted to exorcise this evil, nasty spirit, but
that's cocky.
He felt such evil that he ran screaming out of the graveyard and then died of a heart attack a few weeks later.
I mean, that's horrible that he died, but also this ghost is so fucked up and was like a genocidal maniac.
Exactly. Just
you
wanted
think
to.
You, one guy, can exorcise that spirit?
No, I think you should just leave it alone. He's already mad. Somebody broke into his plague pit.
Yeah, Jesus, bring backup.
I read in one source that in 2004, a couple of teenagers broke into the tomb again and stole his head.
No, you guys!
I know. And apparently they were arrested and sentenced to probation for grave robbing. But, I mean, that didn't stop George Mackenzie. Like I said, the Scotsman reported on all those attacks in 2006, so not terribly long ago. Nowadays, they have locked up the tomb pretty snugly and tightly because it's clear that people just want to fuck with this guy. But apparently you can still kind of peek in a window and you can still see the hole where the guy fell down into the bone pit.
That's so wild. Because okay, it's just so wild to me that the tomb is just shut and there's just an open pit of bones. I mean, I guess what are you going to do with them?
I mean, maybe they took the bones out and they just left the pit. I don't really know. But I really want to go to this cemetery, which is open 24 hours a day, by the way. You can just go. It's free. And just walk around.
Man. Oh, to be arm in arm with you, walking through this cemetery together with big woolen scarves.
Yes. And I would want to go to Edinburgh Castle again. That was so cool.
Yeah.
Walk down the Royal Mile. Shit, I want to do that. But I'm almost done. I've got one more little story to tell you about Greyfriars Kirkyard. And it's kind of the thing that it's most known for.
Ooh.
And it's actually not that scary. So there is a little statue of a bronze Skye Terrier that has been sitting outside of the cemetery for the past 140 years. And this is to represent this little dog that was nicknamed Greyfriar's Bobby. And this was a little baby dog. Its owner died and got buried in the cemetery, and the dog just like wouldn't leave his owner's grave. He would just come and sit with his owner's grave. And eventually, even though it was against the rules, I guess the staff made a little like shelter for the dog because it would get cold.
Yeah.
And then eventually when the dog died, it was also buried right next to his owner in the cemetery, and you can go see Greyfriar's Bobby's little tomb.
Oh my god, I'm crying and dying.
Yeah. This is a great story, and I love it, and I am also going to maybe ruin it. Historians do sort of think that the story of Greyfriar's Bobby was maybe like a marketing ploy by the cemetery and a restaurant nearby to like encourage tourism, because people would like come to see the dog and feed the dog. And like he developed a little bit of a reputation before and after his death. But even if it was a marketing ploy, it fucking worked.
I mean, I would love to believe it's true. I can also believe that the vicious heart of capitalism came up with it, but I want to believe that it's true.
It's true enough that there is a little gravestone for the dog, and people leave little collars and dog food and stuff for him. Yeah, and so you can still go visit him today, and I want to.
Me too. Oh, that's wonderful, because a dog is buried there.
Yeah, yeah. And it had to come from some kind of truth. So there you go.
Yeah. Exactly. There's always truth in there.
Yeah. So that's Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Wow, amazing. We have to put it on our list of cemeteries to visit all over the world.
Yes, because it is apparently the most haunted, and I gotta see if I can look into that bone pit.
I gotta see too. I gotta see if the bones are still down there. I wanna, look around and see some of the, HP names.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna visit this dog.
Yep.
I wanna get a shiver from old...
Mackenzie.
What's his name?
George Mackenzie.
Old Mackenzie. George Mackenzie.
You can
son of a bitch.
see the Covenanters prison, but I guess it's like closed off now because it's just, I don't know why, but probably just bad vibes.
Well, I mean, it is the site of terrible torture and death, so maybe you shouldn't be able to walk around in it. I don't know. That's the thing. We don't talk about this enough, I guess, but like dark tourism and the ethics of like going to like, murderous tourism, you can learn stuff from there, but should people be making a profit off of it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's a really complicated issue.
But it is, awe-inspiring, humbling, and a very big learning process to like be in those places,
Yes. Yeah.
So I hope one day you and I can stroll through that cemetery with big cups of Scottish coffee.
Yep.
And fuzzy coats.
Oh, take me there.
I imagine it's wintertime.
Yeah, it'll probably be cold, I'm sure.
Oh my god, and what if it was snowy?
Cute.
I can't wait for snow this year. I want it.
Not yet. We need to have the rest of our spooky season, and then we can have snow and Christmas time. And Hanukkah time.
And Hanukkah time. 8 crazy nights of bones. Anyway.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for 1 year of bones. Still can't believe it. Buy a t-shirt. They're $25. Link in our bio on Instagram. And I'll put that sucker in the show notes too.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They're very comfortable.
Extremely comfortable. I have been sleeping in my gray one, and I wore the white one last night when Sophie and our friend Nick Kruger and I went to the Seattle night market, which was very cool and spooky. Or almost spooky.
That was a happening place. Yeah, it was almost spooky. It said it was going to be on the full moon, but then it wasn't.
No, I looked up at the moon and I was like, you are either waxing or waning. Which is it?
Waxing gibbous was what we were looking at.
That's what we decided since... anyway, doesn't matter.
We love you guys. Thank you for a year of your time, and we look forward to many, many more with you.
Yeah.
And, have a good day. Be nice to your body. Be nice to your bones.
Appreciate your bones.
Appreciate your bones. Don't let the ghouls and goblins get you.
That's right. And as always,
Bon
voyage!
We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
At Chubby Scrubby on Twitter.
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
At Camilla Strader on Instagram.
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe.
Yeah, you've heard of the Pit of Despair. I think this one is 10 times worse.
Yeah, this is the Pit of de Bones.
Okay. I don't know how we're going to come back from that. Jesus Christ.